Yeah, it's fun to be here. You know, I lived in Aurora for 11 years and worked at Wells for 10. And it still has always will have a special place in my heart. I am in Auburn now and work at Unity House. Um, but yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to travel to some special places. And exactly 10 years ago, my daughter, Stephanie Meyer, who is a Southern Cayuga graduate, class of '08, um, got to study abroad in Leiden in the Netherlands for a semester. She was going to Susquehanna University and got selected for that program. And it took me 30 years to get back to Europe. My folks took me for a visit. My brother Chris is on the call tonight. My folks took the two of us to Europe in 1980 when I graduated from college. And it took me 30 years to finally get back, and my own daughter to inspire me to go. I mean, I would have gone, but circumstances didn't allow that. So I got to go back. So she was studying outside of Amsterdam, and Iceland had been on the radar for a while. And so I was able to fly to any place in Europe with a stop in Reykjavik. So I did do that it was just 2 nights and 3 full days. And it was exactly 10 years ago. I think it was the end of March of 2011 that I got to go. So I'm just going to share some pictures from that great trip with you. Let me just pull it up here. So yeah, as you probably know, Iceland is an island in the North Atlantic up above the UK. And so over here on the bottom left corner in the circle is kind of where I was. My daydream would be to go back in the summertime and do the famed ring road that goes all the way around the country. It's really only 900 miles. So, but I just stayed in this area. We flew into Keflavik, and in the early morning, it's only a 5-hour flight from New York City. And I think we landed at 6 a.m., 5:30 in the morning. Took 45 minutes to get into Reykjavik. I arrived on March 30th, Sunday morning. So everything was pretty closed. Hang on one second. Let me just adjust my screen here. So here I am leaving the Syracuse airport in my Aurora shoes. I do want to point that out. On my way down to JFK and then on to Reykjavik. I had to include this picture. That's a picture of the Throgs Neck Bridge going out to Long Island from Manhattan. And there is Fire Island taking off from JFK. And 6 hours later, got into Reykjavik to my Hotel Bjork. And of course, it was 7 a.m. in the morning and people were still sleeping in my room, so it wasn't available. So we got breakfast and they held on to my suitcase, and I just walked around the city just to kind of get familiar. And I love this one because I am a Philadelphia girl, born and raised outside of Philly. So I saw that, and then I saw that. And I have absolutely no idea what that means or stands for, but the Icelandic language was a little alarming, kind of fun. I do have to say, 10 years ago, we didn't put our cell phones on Europe service. So the only way I could communicate with my folks and my daughter back here was by email in the hotel lobby. And I had mentioned in the blurb about what this presentation would be about is that there are 6 extra letters in the Icelandic language. So it was kind of interesting using this keyboard in Iceland to email my father to say I made it and I'm safe and I'm good, because there were 6 extra letters on the keyboard and there's a bunch of them there. So that was kind of funny. But this is downtown Reykjavik. I love the colors. It seems to be standard in Europe. And so there was no one around really that early on a Sunday morning. The Icelandic horses play a huge part in the culture. We'll see pictures of them later. I'm just wandering around downtown waiting to get into my room, and I got into this market. So this that you're looking at is a Putrified Shark. And that is a delicacy in Iceland. And they literally had little tiny chunks of it out on a plate with toothpicks, like you might try cheese at Wegmans. Well, this was putrefied shark that you could try. And of course, I had to try it. I had my water bottle at the ready. And they were telling me that at some point during the fermentation process, it is actually poisonous. You have to get past that part of the process before you can obviously sell it to humans. But that was kind of an interesting thing. And another delicacy that the Icelanders are really love are their hot dogs. So this is again a Sunday, rainy, socked in Sunday afternoon, and all these people are sitting outside to enjoy their hot dogs. So I had gone back to the room and cleaned up and then came back out to tour around. And this is a beautiful pond right in the middle of downtown Reykjavik. This young couple with their baby are feeding the geese, and some lovely homes there along the water. And then, so this unpronounceable volcano, you might remember, blew, and that was actually in 2010. That was a long time ago. So it was before I got there. It blew in April of 2010, and I was there in March of 2011. And they were still utilizing it. So this T-shirt was for sale, and I thought it was pretty funny. So the reference, we may not have cash, but we've got ash, of course, is to the ash from the volcanic eruption a year earlier. But what I learned while I was over there was that the recession, the collapse of the banks and stuff in 2008 actually started in Iceland when they deregulated their banks. And that just threw the economy into a swirl, and then it just rolled right across the Atlantic to Wall Street, and the mortgage bubble burst, and Enron and all that. It all went down, and it all started in Iceland. So it was dirt cheap to go to Iceland in 2011. So that's what the reference is. We don't have any cash, but we sure have ash. So that was kind of funny. So this is down on the waterfront, and just some interesting looking buildings around the city. This was a shop that was open in Geyser. We'll get to go there in a little while when we go on the Golden Circle tour. And then, so walking up the main street, this huge, beautiful church, Hallgrímskirkja, just looms over the whole city. And it is it's Lutheran Church of Iceland. And let's see, I have some notes here. It was designed to resemble the landscape. All of Iceland is basically volcanic. It is all lava covered with really thick moss, lots of geothermal, volcanic reactivity up there. So this was built in 1940, and absolutely gorgeous. This is our friend Leif Erikson there in front of the church. Let's see, he was a Norse explorer from, lived from about 970 to 1020. And it's thought that he was the first European to set foot on continental North America. They came through, they were in Newfoundland. There's Lance Meadows is up in Newfoundland, and that was the Viking settlement that he founded. And he did that 500 years before Columbus discovered America. So this statue was actually given to the nation of Iceland by us, by the Americans, almost 100 years ago in 1930. They gave this to Iceland to commemorate the 1000th anniversary of their parliament, the founding of their parliament called the Althing. So this is 1,100 years ago, their parliament was founded, and this was there with the nice graffiti. I don't think that probably came with it, but that we'll talk more about the parliament and the Althing in a little bit. So then I went into this beautiful church. This was Sunday, and it was either the Sunday before Easter or the Sunday after. I don't think it was Palm Sunday, so the Sunday after Easter. So it still had that feeling of a high holy day. And it was just absolutely gorgeous. And you were allowed to go up to the top. And so you got the whole view of the city and the ocean. And this is that pond earlier that you saw with a couple feeding the geese is down here. So then I had to hightail it back to my hotel to get picked up for my 2 o'clock bus trip out to the Blue Lagoon. And this gorgeous church was on the way. I just loved the steeples. That architecture was so classic. I just loved that. And we got on the bus and we're driving out to the Blue Lagoon, which is out near Keflavik Airport. And all flights back to America after you've been in Iceland are afternoon. And so they purposely sell you on going to the Blue Lagoon on your way back to the airport. The buses provide like storage for your suitcase and that type of thing. And the Blue Lagoon has plastic bags for your wet bathing suit. And so that was pretty neat. And so this is just a homestead that's just out. You can kind of see the volcanic rock and the moss, and that's all that Iceland really is. It really is kind of a rock out there. And then we pulled up to the Blue Lagoon, and that was pretty awesome. And this is the main entryway. Again, you can see the rocky landscape. And then this isn't even inside the Blue Lagoon. This is just kind of rivers and stuff that flow. The pictures just don't capture the deep blue, but the white is all salt rime, all on the rocks. And I'll tell you, after you go in the Blue Lagoon, my hair was crispy for like 3 days, even washing it every day. It just is so high salinity. And of course, they use that as a beauty regimen and spa treatments, and they have the facial scrubs you can put on, and you can get a massage out on the water. It's very interesting. And this is a geothermal plant. I'll talk more about that. So there's my buddies from Sweden who I rode out with on the bus. They're already, I haven't even changed yet. They're already in with their cocktails. And it was really cool because they gave you a waterproof wristband that was your key to your locker and like a charge card. So you don't have to carry anything out into the water. You can just walk up. There's all these bars out in the pool, and you just swipe it and you can get food and drinks and get into your locker, charge a massage, whatever you like. So it was just an absolutely beautiful situation. So I blatantly stole this off of the Guide to Iceland because we saw the sun was out for about 4 minutes the whole 3 days I was there. And they said that at that time of year, the Northern Lights were really active, but it was so socked in, I didn't get to see them. So that's still on the bucket list for another trip somewhere north. But look, it was just absolutely gorgeous. And this was the high-end restaurant called Lava Fitting. So that was really fun. So then the next day was the all-day Golden Circle tour. I got lucky. I'm literally sitting here on my couch trying to book this thing, and I got lucky. And there are a lot of the big, like Greyhound-sized buses that do these tours en route. And somehow I ended up booking one that was in a small van like this. It was a 24-seater, and the driver was from England, and he had married an Icelandic woman and come over like 17 years before, and they had saved up the money to buy his bus. And I learned so much from it. I really have retained it 10 years later. I think I got lucky in not taking the big bus. It felt like a small, intimate group out touring the island. So we headed out, and one of our first stops was this geothermal plant. So it's still a mystery to me why Iceland is not the home of huge manufacturing, because they transfer hot geothermally heated water out of the earth at 86 degrees. The energy that the natural energy that they have there, they keep expecting it to become the place where manufacturers will go, because you can get the energy to run whatever widgets you're making you pull the energy up out of the ground and it's pennies on the dollar. So they pipe this hot water out, and it only loses 3 degrees in the transfer into Reykjavik. So the Icelanders are getting, practically free energy heating their homes. And, we drive by and all their windows are open, and it's March in Iceland. And why? Because we can, because we get this heat comes into our house at 83 degrees, and we can open our windows if we want to in the winter. So they've got this amazing energy source, and they keep saying they're going to tap into it, but I haven't really heard of any large companies moving to Iceland to manufacture whatever they got going. So this is just a picture of the landscape. So, and then the second thing we stopped is this, I don't know, is Carid. This volcanic crater lake was pretty neat. And the red earth, and this really, the landscape was really just striking. So that's the picture I got. And then I got this one off the internet. And you can really see in the summertime, you've got pathways, you can walk around and down into the crater, and you can see what the landscape really looks like in the colors of the earth, all volcanic. So we're here, there are all these big wheeled vehicles. There was a lot of extreme sport going on in Iceland. You could ride Icelandic ponies on the black sand beach, and you could scuba dive in a glacier-fed cavern, and you can hike to the top of this Jökull, which is the glacier, and you can ski. And it was really interesting. There were a lot of people out and about doing fun things. Another house, through the window of the bus, just out in the middle of nowhere. And then we came up to our first falls. So Foss, Foss is falls in Icelandic. So this is Foss. And over here on the left, you can see the Salmon Ladder. That was pretty neat to see. I didn't see any salmon jumping, but it wasn't the right time of year. There's a closer shot of that. Some guy checking out the river, some gal checking out the river. This was a little market. It wasn't open, but it was a cute little hut. And then again, we're heading out into, looks like nothing. It just really, the landscape was really stark. And then there were the Icelandic ponies along the road. So we all had to get out and go see them. And they were all woolly from the winter. So the thing about Icelandic horses is that Icelanders do not allow any other horses to ever step foot on the island, because they don't want to take any risks of jeopardizing the bloodlines. They all need to be able to say that Icelandic horses are, 100% pure, back from, to the 900s or whatever. So that was pretty interesting. And you can see how shaggy some of them are. And I will also mention, sadly, that on the menu in Reykjavik, there is a horse and minke whale. And I was there alone, and I'm not that explorative in my eating. I know my friend Siobhan is on the call, and she'll eat almost anything. So I wish that she had been with me then, because I would have tried it, but I didn't want to order a whole, 45 kroner dinner and have one bite and be no. But, and, so they're eating, they have horse and whale on the menu. That was our van there. And so this is the big one. When you go to Iceland, this is one of the top things that you see. It's called Gullfoss, and it's just massive, and you can see all the different layers and tiers of it. Technically, it was closed. You see this person walking here. They all jumped the fence. You can see this, not open. This was the day we were there. It was the 31st of March, and nobody paid any attention to this sign. So there we're up at the view, and then people checking it. Oh, there was the sun. I had to take a picture of the 4 minutes that we had of sunshine. It was lovely. This is our group just out checking it out. And you can see all the people down that jumped the fence and went down. And, you know, Europe doesn't have the search and rescue apparatus and the people or the real need. So they are not as all about rescuing foolhardy people who jump the fence and go down there. So we were very sternly warned that, you know, you go down there, it's pretty icy. You slip and fall into that, you're gone. You're there. Nobody's going to be able to save you. So, but people were still drawn to it, and I get it. The noise and I loved it. I did not feel the need to go all the way down there. Okay, that was another one I stole off the internet. It's pretty small. Looking back down the gorge. And that was an awesome shot with that person standing up overlooking it all. Here's another example of that extreme sport that I was talking about. So these homesteads are throughout the island, and what we learned is that most Reykjavik residents have a little hut about 30 miles outside, way out into the outback pretty much, where they have a cabin, and they have dug geothermal, their own natural hot spring in their backyard. If it wasn't there already, they dug down and made their own natural hot spring, and that's what they do on their time off. On their weekends, they drive out to their vacation home and they sit in that hot tub and they watch the northern lights. That's what the people in Reykjavik do. Everybody has a second home, and you'd be driving along, there would be nothing, and then there'd be these little clusters of a dozen houses, little spots, and that were their getaway spot places. So now we're coming into Iceland's mini Yellowstone, called the Geyser area. Now look, geyser. So it's pretty hot. They're warning you not to get too close. And we've got hot pools there, the runoffs from the geothermal pools. This is so volcanic. It's all just coming right up from the center of the earth. And so they had one called stroker, meaning because it hit on the stroke every 11 minutes. Stroker would go off, and it went off 6 or 7 times just while we were there. You can see the system of boardwalks, and this was the visitor center down here, and there were multiple hot features throughout the park. Can't even pronounce that one. Just some guy, a little bit of blue sky there. It was great. And there's Stroker. And another one. And we went into the gift shop, and puffins are pretty prevalent around there. And those are on the menu too. Sorry. They're very cute, but that was the big one at the gift shop. And then we headed out. So this was the highlight of the Golden Circle tour, was going to Thingvellir National Park. So this is where the 2 tectonic plates of the earth come together. So the Eurasia plate and the North American plate have come together, and they are constantly shifting and moving. So the landscape is always different. I wrote down some stuff here. So, and this is where the Parliament first met, the OWL thing, back in 930. It's the world's oldest parliament. And you've got this seismic rift valley that has caused all this and so somebody was assigned to find a place where all the chieftains on the island could bring their clans, and they could meet, and they could lay down new laws and resolve disputes and get together. And this place was the spot, I guess. And so in 930, all the 30 different clans from around the island came together. The farthest flung location was only a 17-day journey to get to here. And all the clans would come together and set up camp in this huge valley. And each clan chieftain, hang on, I'll get back to that So here's a rift. There's coins in there, but this is this fissure in the earth. You can kind of see how it is. So this is this beautiful river. There's a huge lake on the other side of these buildings. This is a church here, and then you can just see the roof line of the Iceland Prime Minister's summer home. This is his home here in the national park. And you know, the Prime Minister's phone number is right in the phone book. You can look him up and call him if you want to. It's very different than here. And so those tectonic plates I was talking about have shifted over the years. So you've got this several 100-foot high wall that went all the way down. You'll see more of that. And that really played a big part in having Parliament meet here. And I'll tell you why in just a second. So I was talking about the chieftains a minute ago. So this is Snorri's booth. So Snorri was one of the first chieftains to come to the Althing, and each of them would build a booth, and that was where they did their business. They would meet with people and they'd resolve disputes. And you know, he committed adultery, well, he stole my pig, well, you know, she's practicing witchcraft. And they would meet with their people in the clans and they'd make new laws. And at the end, they would stand up against that big wall, which would help with the acoustics. And it would basically project all their proclamations out to the people who were standing down in the valley. So it really could help them tell all the people without the help of microphones and speakers what had been decided and who was going to be punished in what way and what the new tariff was going to be for something. So I thought that was really interesting. And there are lots of these booths. You could still see some of the stone groundwork for that. So here we're allowed to get out of the bus and walk all through along that wall. And this is looking back down. Here's the big lake I mentioned and the Prime Minister's summer home. This was the river that was running through it. And they used to have during the Althing dunking booths. That was some of the justice that they meted out to people who, you know, had broken the laws or whatever. And this was another one. It's a great shot. They're just too small to see, but you can look down the valley and see the walls up. There's the one wall. It was just so interesting to be here. There was so much history, and they met there until the 1300s when they moved into towards Reykjavik. So 400 years they traveled every year for 2 weeks. They would camp in there. Looking back down into the valley, you can really get an idea of the rift here from the in this beautiful waterfall. Really interesting landscape. So then we went back into Reykjavik. It was my last night, and this was the end of March in Iceland on a Monday night. I could not get a table for one for dinner. It was that busy. The plane was full flying in and out the next day. So we were down in just in the center of the town, and yeah, couldn't get dinner. So let's see, what have I missed? Oh, yeah. So, and then I don't know, Icelandic krona is still the currency. And right now, $1 US equals about 128 krona. So the $45 fee to go to the Blue Lagoon is about 5,700 krona. But we shopped around and just enjoyed Reykjavik. And then I jumped on a plane over to Amsterdam to go and see my girl. So that was what I got out of Iceland. And I would love to go back in the summer and drive the ring road. So I'm going to stop the share now. And Ed, I don't know if there's any questions or how you want to work that.
Well, let's see. Double check the chat again. I don't believe most of was going to say there weren't any questions in the chat. It was mainly, oh, well, here's one. So Rebecca Ruggles asked, do they raise any of their own food?
There were a lot of sheep. Icelandic wool was a big thing. I bought some mittens. I should have put them on. And a really cool woven like wool basket that had some lava rocks on it. But obviously, as you can see by looking at the landscape, there are not much agriculture. People aren't doing much gardening in that heavy, thick lava volcanic rock. So they do, and you know, the horses too, I think, as I said, they were on the menu. So, and fisheries too. There's obviously an island in the Atlantic, so a lot of fisheries.
Is wood in short supply? There didn't seem to be a lot of trees along that line where there's not reeds to make basket. You have to use what's there. So do they import wood, or?
I don't really know about that. You're absolutely right. There were not big, thick forests that I saw in the one portion of the island that I was at. So I really can't answer that. I would think they probably have to import a lot of things. And yeah, that's probably why it's more and more expensive to go to Iceland now than it was 10 years ago after the crash. So.
Did you see any other wildlife? Reindeer, seals?
I did
sharks
not.
That weren't for, dinner?
I did not, probably because I was either in the city or in the most traveled portion of Iceland. I mean, the Golden Circle tour, you've got 5 different bus companies running 3 or 4 of those tours every single day. So it wasn't like we were out in the wilderness, because there was a 2-hour drive between Geyser and Thingvellir that we just were sitting there, and it just took 2 hours to get there. And there was nothing out there, but there were not forests and not a lot of wildlife. So I didn't get to see any of that.
Well, and I would imagine it's like a lot of the wildlife up towards the Arctic Circle, that it's in the winter months there, it kind of hunkers down a bit. And then
yes, and they're probably off at the less traveled center of the island.
Yeah. Oh, and also, if everyone could help me out, I put a little question in the chat, but if y'all wouldn't mind just entering into the chat how many people are watching at your location for me, it'll help Sandy and I with future programming.
I saw Monica's question about the different names in the family. Yes, so that was something that I remember well, because our driver, like I said, was British, and his last name was Davidson, and he married an Icelandic woman. They're very strict about what you're allowed to name Icelandic children. So his suggestion that they name their son Harley Davidson did not go over well, and was not, that was frowned upon. So yes, even in the same family. So the last name is son if you're a boy, and daughter if you're a girl, Dottir. So my last name is Buck, so I would be Kelly Buck daughter, and my brother is Chris Buck, and he would be Chris Buckson, I guess. So yeah, so even though you had brothers and sisters and parents living in the same house, their last names would be different if you're following the traditional or the Icelandic tradition of naming your children. So. I see people signing in here. I don't know if there's any more questions. Hi, Martha. So that's what I had about Iceland. I would highly recommend it. It's an easy flight from East Coast America. Very different, beautiful. The big, huge glaciers and a lot of those extreme sports spots would get you out there so you could really experience them.
Another question is, do you feel like you could have spent some more time there, or maybe gone in a different season? If you had the chance to do it again, would you go? Well, obviously not so close to a volcano eruption, but
Not the eruption, but I would go up a volcano or on a glacier. So yes, I think I said early on that I would absolutely go back in the summer months and drive the ring road. They have camper vans, I think that they rent. And it's funny because we've seen pictures and there have been movies that the ring road is the entire, obviously the outside ring around the island. And I hear it's like less than 1,000 miles all the way around, and that you can go out there and it's pretty much free range. And like I mentioned earlier, there are natural hot springs. And so people just pull over, strip off, and jump in, and you're gonna be sitting in this little two-person, hot pot out in somebody's, out in the field somewhere, and that's just what they do. And I would like to experience that. And every bit, there's so many more waterfalls, and like I said, the black volcanic sand beaches, and you can go diving, under the glaciers, and you can climb up the glacier and ski and ride the horses. And so, yes, I would go back in warmer weather and try to experience that. And in fact, my calendar that I got this month is Iceland, and it's a photographer who went over, and his goal was to ski and surf on the same day. Hey, Phil. Sorry, that's my family in Michigan. It's so nice to see them. So the picture, so he got it, and they figured it out, and they did the weather, and it's nighttime, and the northern lights are there, and somehow they have backlit this green wave, and he, damned if he's not surfing, and had skied on one of the glaciers earlier. So it was just like, I think I need to meet this man. He sounds like the guy for me.
let's see, there was a question about the economy. Do you know if it's any better now than it was then, or
well, it has
pre-COVID?
rebounded because it's a lot more expensive. So again, this was kind of before Iceland was trendy, and I will share my speculation on why Iceland is on more and more people's radar now. I'm a marketer. I'm a marketing person. That's what I do. And so 11 years, 10, 12 years ago, not many people had Iceland on their radar, and the same with Portugal. And now both of them are really trendy spots. And my supposition is that it's because their airlines have done a kick-in job of marketing. We can fly you anywhere in mainland Europe that any of the other airlines can take you, but come with us and stop at our capital city for 2 or 3 days on your way, and it's the same price. So TAP Portugal and Iceland Air have done a phenomenal job. And I really believe that in the past 10 years, it has made a huge difference in the tourism to those two nations. And more people are going to Portugal and Iceland. And I understand that Iceland is very expensive now. I just happened to go before it became trendy and right after the stock market or the bank crashes. So yeah, I think it's more expensive now. And I do believe the economy's rebounded just like it has in America from the 2008 crash.
There's a question. The language seems to have similar roots in English. Doter, Stoker, any other shared words that you learned?
Gosh, that was true for some things. And I remember being there, like looking at the menu, which of course always had the English underneath it. But, yes, there were absolutely words that you could figure out. And others that it was like, yeah, no, because of those 6 extra letters in their alphabet that you think you're pronouncing it right. And the Icelanders are laughing at you because you're so far off. You're not even close. And they actually say that they appreciate Americans trying, but that they know it's virtually impossible to learn Icelandic. So no, but yes, there were roots in the Germanic languages. And so, yes, that some of them you could easily translate. You could tell what they were, but not all.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I just want to say thank you, Kelly. It was fascinating, and Iceland is on my bucket list, and it's still on my bucket list after this, even more so. If no one else has any questions, we thank you all for coming, and we all give Kelly a little clap.
Oh, thank you. It was great to do it.
And yeah, well, definitely, she's got some other. You will probably be seeing Kelly again. She's got some other travels for us that she's going to present in the future. So.
Well, I was so impressed with Monica's Machu Picchu one last month. You inspired me, girl. So yeah, I threw it out there, and if you have a hole you need to fill, I have a few other fun places that I've been that I just love to talk about travel. So, and it's always fun to see old friends from Aurora. I still miss it out there. So thanks for having me.